Welcome to another episode of Next Level Coaching with Erin Kottman. I am super excited because I have yet another great guest today who we will introduce in just a moment. But before we even get started, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe this video. If you are not already following me on Instagram, you can follow me at Erin Kottman. You can also head over to our website, erinkottman.com, where you can have access to all of our great resources, tutorials, our Facebook group, all of that good stuff. So without further ado, I want to introduce Stephanie Hodges, Principal Stephanie Hodges. Not only is she a fantastic principal, but she's also one of our clients.
Yes.
So I'm excited to have her here to talk about her journey as a leader, coaching, and where that falls into her, journey also, and then a little bit just about herself. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm excited. When I asked you, I was like, I wonder what she'll say. I wasn't sure what you were going to say. So I was excited that you said, yes, I will come be on the show. Before we get started all the way into coaching, I always want to hear people's story. Like, how did you get into education? Give us like the synopsis.
Okay. So I never dreamed that I would actually be in education.
Yeah.
I graduated from high school, valedictorian in my class.
Excuse me, Smarties.
Yes. Went to Emory to be a doctor. Went to Emory University, and I was going to be a neonatologist.
Now, what is that? A baby something?
A baby doctor, yes.
Okay.
And so for babies in intensive care. So like the NICU.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes.
And so I realized that I didn't like biology. And I didn't like hospitals. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I had to change my major to psychology and educational studies. So then I was going to be a school psychologist.
Okay.
And somehow, some way, I got recruited by good old Teach for America.
There is a trend here, if you notice. Many of the guests we've had upon here
are TFAers?
Yes.
All right. So I got recruited for Teach for America, and I was like, I'm only going to teach for 3 years. That's it.
You were going to be the stereotypical.
Yes, that is it. That's all I want to do. I want to go back to grad school. And I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I absolutely fell in love with my kids, with the relationships, the parents, all of it. I absolutely fell in love.
So what did you film? See, because we're filming a podcast. What did you teach first, like your TFA years?
My TFA years, my first year I taught fourth grade.
Okay.
Then I got moved down to third grade, and that was the hardest year of my life in teaching. Then I got moved up to fifth grade. So my first 3 years of teaching, I taught a different grade every year.
What was that like?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a whole lot. And my principal was like, I need a strong teacher to move to this grade, to this grade, to this grade. And so I moved.
It always be the strong ones. It's always, which is interesting, right? Because as a school leader, do you find yourself sometimes doing that?
Yes, yeah. I try not to. I'm like, ooh, you're falling into that same trap.
Yeah.
Don't do it, Stephanie.
Yeah.
So I taught for about 7-8 years.
Okay.
I actually changed schools, moved down to Henry County.
Okay.
And my principal was like, hey, you have a really strong background in literacy. I want you to start going to these literacy meetings with the district, because that was the only non-Title I school I had ever worked at. And so we didn't have a coach. And so she
See how that development was already starting?
Yes. So I started going to the meetings and stuff. And Dr. Kirk, who I absolutely love, he called me one night. He was like, hey, there's a position available for a coach and you didn't apply. And I was like, and I'm not.
Right, sure did.
I'm good. Like, I love my fifth graders. I am awesome. I'm good.
Yeah.
He was like, no, you're going to apply right now. Do it now. And I was like, okay. So I applied. I talked to my principal. She prepped me. She made sure I brought my outfit in.
Yeah.
She made me try it on, all the things. And then I ended up getting the position after like 3 rounds of interviews and became a literacy coach in Henry County, and then transferred up to APS because the pay in Henry County wasn't that. Transferred up to APS, did literacy coaching, and then I started at Centennial Academy as a coach. And then from there, I was Director of Communications and Partnerships, Director of Strategic Initiatives. I was Associate Head of School. I was Assistant Principal. And now Principal. So this is the role I've had the longest, at least at Centennial.
Okay, and how long have you been in the role of Principal?
This is my 3rd year.
Yes.
Whew. My 3rd year.
So let me ask you this. How do you think all those different hats that you have worn influence your, I guess, even lens as a school leader now?
So I think it's like a blessing and a curse, right? A little bit. So because I was in so many different positions, I I know what happens outside of just the instructional leadership role that most principals have to focus on. And because we're a charter school, all the things that the district traditionally does for us, we do in-house. And so I learned how to go out and have partnership meetings and secure an MOU for the school. I learned how to do all of our marketing and communications for the school. I learned how to go out and organize events for the school because I did all of those things.
You have to do all that. Yeah.
I learned how to write a grant and get the school a grant for $850,000. So putting all those skills, all those experiences really helped me develop my skills as a leader and also help develop teachers in different pathways other than the traditional AP
must be a principal
role. And I'm like, there's other things in education that you can do because I've done them.
I've done them, yeah. What's the curse part?
The curse part is...
And tell the truth because I'm your coach, so I know.
The curse part is, as a leader now, because there are other people in those roles, I'm like, I wouldn't do it that way, right? I wouldn't send that communication that way, and I have to let it go and realize that it's not my role to do it anymore.
Nope.
And sometimes I take on more because I have the experience in the building.
Yep.
And so I'm like, I'm going to do all the presentations. I'm going to do the communications to family. I'm going to do all of it. I'm going to do the robocalls.
Yep.
All of it. And it became so overwhelming. I'm like, okay, I got to step back and train some other people and let folks do their jobs.
Yeah. Yep. That's real though.
Yeah.
So how did you come to the idea, I need a coach?
Okay, so my coaching journey, you're not my first coach.
Oh, I know that.
So Erin's not my first coach.
I should have like, what?
You're my best coach.
I should have like, no.
So I got my first coach, my HR team. Yes. Like, we're going to pour into you. The board chair approved it. He was like, yeah, we believe in Stephanie's potential. Let's pour into her. And this is before I got my principal position. And so my first coach, he was great. He was an executive coach. He taught me how to be a great leader overall, but he could not tell me how to facilitate a hard conversation with a teacher.
Yeah.
He could not tell me what the coaching strategies I needed to put in place.
So he had the leadership expertise, but maybe not the niche of school.
Yes.
Yeah. But I even love the idea of that I think having coaches in different sectors can definitely, there's benefit to that for sure. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
And then my second coach, he was cool. He had the school experience, right? But there was just not a connection between us.
Which is real too.
Yeah. And so I was like, I don't want to continue with this road. And so I talked to HR and I was like, listen, like I need somebody that has a background in education, has been a leader, and maybe somebody that looks like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we went out, we researched some people, and I'm like, in my leadership journey right now, I need someone who understands what it means to be a Black woman in leadership.
Because our experience is different.
Exactly.
It just is. Exactly. It's a unique experience to be in. And so sometimes a coach can give you advice and it's like, yeah, but when you deliver that, it's not going to be taken the same way as if I deliver it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
here we are. Yes. Okay. So what has coaching, and this isn't a sales pitch, so she's going to, but like what has coaching, and I'm just my coaching, but coaching in general done for you? Like what has that been the impact for you as a leader?
So I think for sure, it's definitely made me a stronger leader. One of the things I really love about our relationships is that you are a coach, right? Most definitely you can tell me all the instructional things I need to do in the building. You can see the gap, name the gap, and help me fill the gap. But you're also very real. And you will say, Stephanie, fix your face. Stephanie, you can't say it that way. Stephanie, no, don't do that, right? And so for me, it's like, okay, you're a coach, you're a mentor, you are an accountability partner. Leadership can be very lonely, and there's a lot of things I can't share with the other leaders on my team. And so having someone who's outside of the building, but someone who's been in my same shoes to be able to share things with has been invaluable. I think another thing for me with coaching is that because you have done some of the initiatives that we're doing currently at Centennial. You've led that work. And I'm like, when I first met you, I was like, I was so overwhelmed with Relay, right? I love the framework, but I was like, I don't even know how to begin.
Yeah, what do we do here?
To implement this. Yeah. It sounds great on paper. The intensive was awesome, but what does this look like in reality? And so you've been able to help me shape that vision for Centennial, and that has been perfection, because like my first year I was like, oh sweet baby Jesus,
yeah, like what are we doing here? Yeah, a whole lot of money is wasted. Yeah.
I don't know how to do this.
It's funny because when I first so I had coaches in building when I was kind of first getting going, but my first time having an outside coach was when I was an assistant principal. And I say all the time to people, like, yes, like you have to get a coach where you can get a coach. But if your school can budget for you to have an outside coach, I think it's the best thing, because that coach is truly your coach, right? So I had the experience where my coach, and I was going through a really transitional, I was kind of in like a bit of a friction with the higher people in my network at the time. And my outside coach was just so like team Erin in my corner. Yes, she would hold me accountable, but she also held me accountable to being true to myself and what I needed. And even when I would try and kind of like tuck my tail in certain situations, she would be like, no, right? Like, that's actually not okay. And she almost like affirmed for me a lot of times what I was thinking and feeling. And it was nice to know that at the end of the day, her motive was only what was best for me, not what
the network wanted,
or the district or whomever wanted. It was, no, this is what's truly best for Erin. And actually, she really was the person who kind of helped coach me out of being school-based anymore. Like, she's like, I hear what you're saying, and I actually think you don't want to be school-based anymore, you know? Like, and so that was truly, truly powerful for me. Shout out to Laura, because that was my first time having an outside coach and really having a coach who was there for me. And it made all of the difference. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit. So we've talked about you being the coachee. Yeah. Where do you see the value of coaching for those that you lead? We talk a lot about this.
Yes, we do. And so prior to working with you, I have hired other consultants. I've been the coach for my team. And it's really all about growth and development. And so one of the things I've helped my team realize is that we do a lot of great work, right? We pour our hearts into everything, but sometimes we don't get it right. Yeah. And sometimes we need some people to help us to get to where we need to get to and get there a little bit faster when we're moving on. And so with coaching my team and having other folks pour into them, I'm really seeing that leadership development. And so when we started working together, I told you, like, one of my goals was really building the capacity of my crew so that it wasn't always everything on
you. Yep.
And so I'm seeing that growth. I'm seeing that development with them, and I'm seeing them being able to push and develop teachers at a much faster rate and a much better type of situation for the entire school. Their methods are stronger.
It's a trickle down effect, right? When you're getting coached, right? Then, and that's what you guys will often hear me, about a culture of coaching. And that's what I feel like you're truly building at Centennial, is a culture of coaching.
Yes. And so one of the things I always tell to not just my team, but to teachers, I let them know I have a coach, right? I let them know, hey, Erin's in the back. She's going to give me some feedback on how I did this presentation and tell me I forgot to stamp the learning after slide 6. Like, she's going to tell me that. And so I think me leading with vulnerability and letting my teachers know that I'm transparent, right? Like, I don't have it all. Even though I'm the principal, I don't know it all. I can't fix it all. I don't know how to do it all. And so I need support. And so if I need support, the other leaders need support, then of course our teachers also need support.
Yeah. Is it hard for you, because you're, in your role, right? You're principal, and at times you're manager, right? And sometimes you're coach. Is it hard for you to switch between those hats, or like, how have you learned to navigate that?
I think for me, the strongest part of the whole navigation for me has been relationships. And so,
okay, pause. Pin in that. Even that, right? Because I know when I transitioned, because you're naming all the roles you had. I know, and I was at my school for over 10 years. I know, like, I definitely went through like growing pains when I transitioned from being a peer to then, right? So even as you're talking about relationships, I'm like even thinking, like, immediately I was like, oh, I wonder how those have been impacted at times.
Yes.
Yeah. We won't get all the way into that on the podcast. But that's a thing.
They've been impacted.
Yeah.
And I've had to say, hey, my role is different now, right? And so luckily 90% of the people that I kind of grew in Centennial with respect that.
Yeah.
They understand I can't share everything. They understand I can be Stephanie, but I can also be Principal Hodges, right? And so I think it's helped in some ways with those relationships because they know that I'm going to support them, but I'm also going to hold them accountable. And so one of the things I'm really working towards is setting my teachers up so that they cannot fail. Right. So, yes, I'm going to be hard on you, but I'm also going to give you the tools that you need to be successful.
Yep.
So that you know that this push that I'm pushing on you, this kind of urgency of the work, I'm also going to work alongside you so you can see that it's possible.
Yeah. It's like the states of being. They talk about holding your hand while you're going through the fire, right?
I think you told me to read that book. I'm pretty sure you did.
But it's like that idea of you can do, I'm not saying that it's not going to be painful or it's not going to be hard or it's not going to be uncomfortable, but I will do it right alongside you.
Right.
So you have the support to be able to do the hard thing or the difficult thing. Because I think what you said is really true about now more than ever, the work that we're doing, there is an urgency there. Like it really can't wait for people to like get with it. Right. And so that's why I think like coaches of all forms, instructional coaching is so important because we have to increase the teacher effectiveness at a faster rate. And yes, there's like value in like learning things on your own and like the things that you're able to develop on your own when you're in the classroom learning how to figure it out. But the stakes are so high, especially with brown and black children, that it's like, I don't really got time for you to be over here pressure testing stuff with kids. I need you to like,
I need you to get it together.
Yeah, I need you to use the strategies that I know that work and like, let me help you build that along the way so that you can get the impact faster.
Exactly.
Yeah. How have you handled resistant coaching in your building?
Data. Data. And so when I think about teachers who have like resisted against the movement, my first question is this resistance because we don't have a relationship? Is this resistance because they really don't have the will to do the work? Or is this resistance because they feel maybe like, oh my God, if I get a coach, it means that I'm doing something bad, right? And so I've tried to continuously say that everybody in our building is getting coached. And so that just because you have a coaching cycle, your coach is in your room. Like I had to have that conversation with a really great teacher probably like a month ago. And she was like, why is she always in my room? And I'm like, well, she's growing as a leader, right? So she's doing more things I'm asking her to do. So she's going to be in your room more often. She's like, am I doing something wrong? I'm like, you're not. No. You're not doing anything wrong.
That's the culture we have here.
That's the culture that we have. And so it's taken a few years for us to kind of shift the culture and move away from deficit coaching because that's what we were doing. The only person who had a coaching cycle was somebody that we were either trying to coach up or coach out. Exactly. So
yeah, that's so real because even I always knew that I was in a good spot with coaching when a teacher would be like, can you come to my class today? Or what are you doing in third period? You know, that's when I always knew like, okay, you're bought in because you're actually like knocking down my door to come to your classroom. And so that always to me was like a really sure sign of like, okay, we're in a good spot because you want me to be there. And so I think that's always a really good piece. Let's see, what else did I have for you? Okay, I think this will be our last one.
Okay.
What is just like a pivotal moment, or do you have a story where any of your years of coaching has made an impact for you? I always tell the story of my coach, I would say now mentor. One of my very first years teaching, I think I had like 90-something% proficiency on the state test. And I was so excited. And I was like running down the hall and I was like, oh my God,
I made it.
And she was like, that's great. What about the other 5%? And I was like, right. And we laugh about it now, but it was a moment where I was like, okay, I have to have like such a high bar of excellence. It just like put the perspective for me of like, it's still someone's kid that didn't, right? And so like, yes, celebrations, that's great, but there's still somebody's baby who didn't, right? So that was a pivotal coaching moment for me. Has there been ever like a pivotal coaching moment that you've experienced?
Yeah. And so thinking about my time in Henry County schools, going back to like how I got into education and stuff. And so in the time that I was still a classroom teacher and also attending those coaching meetings, I was charged with leading all the PD, going into classes, getting feedback. I was young, right? I was probably 27 or something like that. And I was at a school with old white women.
I was about to say, they was like, who are you, little girl?
And that's how they treated me. They like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're too young. And so what I learned then was how to coach adults, right? I was doing phenomenal things in my classroom with my scholars. And so my principal was like, you need to replicate this across the building. But I'm like, I could just stay in my classroom. And so going to those coaching meetings, having her as a mentor, having Dr. Kurt as a mentor really helped change my framework of coaching, because at this school, I didn't have a coach.
Yeah.
And then I was being tasked with leading adults. And I'm like, I don't even know how to do this.
You didn't have any frame of reference. Yeah.
Right? And so speaking to him and him pouring into me, she pouring into me, I kind of start to develop my toolkit, even as a classroom teacher, on how to influence adults.
Yeah.
Because influencing adults is a lot different than influencing the 20 kids that I have in my class. Like, they love me. They believed in me.
Right.
These women are looking at me like, girl, if you don't sit down and get out my face.
Right.
So that was really pivotal for me and really got me interested in adult learning. And understanding like the differences of how you approach adults versus what you do for kids,
because it's
completely different.
Yeah, when I first got into school leadership, my grandfather was a school leader for a long time, and he used cuss words, so I'm not going to use them. But pretty much his sentiment was like, "Oh yeah, you think the kids are something else?
Yeah.
Wait till you get a hold of these adults." Just wait. And he was not lying. He was not lying. Because I found myself at times being like, well, you're 10, so this makes sense. Yes, you're 32. I don't know why you're doing that. You know?
Exactly.
But it is true. It's such I think it's just a different challenge for sure, each and every day. I always tip my hat off to people who are principals, because it just, the amount of things that you are balancing and juggling each day,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. But I want to affirm you. You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
And you're growing. You're I can see the ease. You're getting into more ease as a principal.
Because I was stressed when you.
Yeah, but you're getting it. Like, I mean, there's going to be days, but you're getting into more of a groove, I think, and releasing. It's still a little bit like this, but you're releasing.
I'm trying.
Yeah, you're releasing some of the control, and I think I'm excited to see, just like the beauty of when that machine of Centennial is just running exactly how you want it to run. It's just that, like, the grind right now is getting it there, but you're the investment that you're making for coaching for yourself and for your other leaders and teachers is going to come back just like tenfold. And so I'm excited to see all that does.
Well, thank you for all that you and the whole team do for us, because you have really helped me put some systems in place. I hated the word systems 3 years ago.
I know, because it can be a little like,
So,
but you need systems, guys.
You need them. I'm admitting you need systems. You need routines.
Yeah.
You need accountability measures. All of that is so important, and you really help me solidify as I'm trying to solidify those practices at Centennial. So whether it's me or another leader, they can,
because that's the key, right?
Going.
We want, as leaders, to be able someone else to pick the ball up and keep running. And so if we house everything, if we're the knowledge, if we're the one that keeps everything going, we really end up doing a disservice at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If people want to know about Centennial, learn more about Centennial, what do they do?
So they can follow me on my Instagram, principal_Hodges. Or if you want to learn more about Centennial, our IG is Centennial ATL, website centennialacademycharter.org. And we try to post a lot.
Social media. Yeah, your social media is very good. Yes. I'm always like, look at Centennial with an awards day, flag football, a little bit of everything.
Yes, we got things going on.
I love it. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Thank you. This was a great episode. You can like, subscribe, follow all of the things of today's episode. Check out the show notes. That will give you how you can connect with Principal Hodges and Centennial Place. And thank you so much. We'll see you next time.